Speaking with Neil Magny, I appreciate your time in town in DC for the fights, obviously, man. Let's talk about, it's been a year since you've been absent from that cage. It's a little bit funny feeling, not to see you in there because you're one of those more active fighters, just trying to rise to the ranks. But recently you had a challenge that you cleared up with USADA, and you're able to clear that up along with another fighter. So what are some of the things that you learned from that situation and some of the education that you and the UFC are talking with USADA to help clear things up going forward?
Man, at the end of the day, like that whole situation was terrible. I mean, there's no other way of explaining it other than like it sucked. Like, it was an unfortunate situation. It was something I wish I didn't have to go through, but at the end of the day, I did have to go through it. But I'm glad UFC and USADA took the right approach towards it. I mean, since my case and a couple other guys on the roster situation, what they started doing now is actually using the evidence that they have to help prove the fighters that are innocent as well. So UFC and USADA, they added thresholds to their testing to accommodate for contamination. So now if there's a certain level of whatever that shows up in the blood test or urine sample or anything like that, it's below a certain threshold and the athlete has no kind of athletic enhancement ability or performance enhancement, anything like that, then they're not going to necessarily say it's a positive finding, and the athlete's not going to get punished for it. Because of the work that we put in over the last 5-6 months, we've seen it recently where Nate Diaz was able to get cleared in a matter of days for his situation.
So based on you was responsible for that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it definitely was terrible having to go through it, but at the end of the day, I'm glad that some changes that needed to happen are being made because of it.
Yeah, and give us fans and more fighters just a better way, just not to take money out your pockets, way to fight everybody, and give the fans the fights that they want to see.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, at this point, when I got pulled from my fight, I was 4 days out from competing. I literally was getting ready to fly out the next day. I've been cutting weight. I paid for my training camp. The work was already done. Yeah. The weight was coming off, and it was like, oh wait, by the way, don't take that flight tomorrow. It's like, wait, what do you mean? What's going on? So I'm glad that they're doing the right thing now. They're actually they're helping the fighters prove their innocence and maintain their innocence, rather than what it was before, where it was just like, oh no, you're guilty, we'll hit you with the hammer, and good luck trying to prove otherwise. So I'm glad that USADA's taking the right approach towards this now.
Yeah, you stated you already might be back in the cage as early as February 2020. Gilbert Burns is a guy who's been mentioning your name.
For sure.
You had other couple names, including his. Does it matter if it's a top 10, top 15 opponent for you to get back in the cage when you do come back?
At this point, it doesn't matter. I mean, you put me in the cage with somebody, I'm eager to get back in there. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to do well. But ideally, I feel like I need to be in there with a top 15, top 10 guy. I mean, guys like Vicente Luque, Gilbert Burns are definitely the guys that are top of my mind right now. I mean, they had some pretty good runs in 2019, and I've been relatively inactive 2019. So to be able to jump back in there with those guys and show that I didn't miss a beat or didn't miss a step at all, I think would be a great way to start off 2020 for me.
Yeah, and you've been a gentleman outside the cage as well. Last year, you raised about 15 G's to help out the Doherty family, to help out the daughter with medical expenses with spinal disease that she has that could be potentially fatal. That's one of those, subjects to kind of tiptoe around it. But what's the update with the family? Are they doing a little bit better?
Yeah, so the family's doing pretty well. I mean, unfortunately for the young lady, there's not much, there's not a cure for the disease that she's dealing with, but there's definitely a lot of medication that can help her live a more comfortable life and allow her to live as close to a normal life as possible. But those medications are expensive. Those medications aren't things that insurance normally covers. Insurance doesn't cover the cost of travel to get those medications. They don't cover the cost of lodging while you're seeking those medications. So being blessed enough to be able to help somebody else out who needed it for their family, needed it for their livelihood, I think was a great opportunity for me, and I was truly grateful for it. And I'm glad I was able to help out in whatever way I could with that family.
Now, everybody's aware of the situation that happened with Walt Harris. It's an unfortunate situation. Your teammate Alistair was the one who was supposed to face him, so it could have been a little bit heavy on him And even Ben Rothwell the other day, he's like, man, I don't even want to fight him if I had to fight him.
For sure.
So it can take a toll on a lot of fighters, man. What did you see from Alistair as professional the way he is just going through camp? Was it tough on him as well? I saw him reach out to him on social media, as well as you and some other fighters did.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely an unfortunate situation. I mean, I think something like that rocked the entire MMA community as a whole. I mean, that was the first time in a long time I've seen a lot of fighters from all over the world, from all over the country, come together and really be there for one another. That part was good to see. I wish it was under different circumstances, but it was just super unfortunate. I know I was bummed about it, and everyone was kind of hoping for the best case scenario, the best kind of outcome. But it was just tragic. But with Alistair, I mean, he definitely felt the pressure on his end too. I mean, he sent his condolences out to the family. He tried to remain as professional as possible and focus on what he had to get done. But it was definitely something that rocked the community as a whole. Myself, Alistair, and the team as well. I mean, it was definitely something that none of us saw coming. No one can really think of the right words to say or how to necessarily feel about it. But everyone was super sympathetic and just kind of feeling the pain that goes with something like that. It was definitely tough.
Jumping back, obviously you learned something about the situation too, but when you come back, jumping back, I hate to retract back, when you come back to the cage, can we expect to see the same Neil that we're used to seeing, something improvement, something you're working on? What was it?
No, I mean, the cool thing about this time off is it really gave me some time to focus on something new. I mean, as much as I love being the one most active guys in the UFC roster, the downside that comes to that, there's a lot of film on me. There's a lot of ways that guys can break down technique and break down some of my tendencies. And if I look on my last two losses, like those guys did a real good job with game planning. They did a really good job with breaking down my style, breaking out the way I fight, and finding ways to really exploit those holes that are in my game. So having this year off, I think is going to be super beneficial for me because I got to work on different tools and bring different things to the table now when I enter that cage next. I mean, the guy that people were seeing on film last year will not be the same guy you guys see in 2020.
Nice.
I had some time to really work on some different things, work on some new coaches on the coaching staff, switch up some training partners. So I'm really excited to go out there and show some new things I've been able to work on.
Now, unlike a lot of guys, you have a criminal justice degree. Some people don't want to take a lot of wear and tear in sport. It's a gruesome sport. Bills are heavy, especially medical expenses and everything like that. When it's all said and done, is that something you want to get into, law enforcement or something with cybersecurity, things of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, like I do have makers I love it, like being able to earn.
You can train the whole academy if you get
sure. But like being able to earn a living and travel the world and do everything else, that's definitely a blessing that goes with it. But at the end of the day, like I know something's not permanent, and I don't want to be one of those guys that's going to have to be retold. I want to be able to retire on my own terms. When I'm in a situation where my wife, teammates, coaches are all, hey man, you should probably consider this being the last fight or something like that, then I'm doing it too long. At that point, I should have already been out. So being able to have things like my degree to fall back on, being able to find things like my real estate investments, things like that to fall back on, are definitely cool things. For sure, cool things to have in the back. Absolutely, yeah. So definitely cool things to have in your back pocket to fall back on, because this could all be over at any minute. Everyone's a fight away from this being your last one. Any situation can end your fighting career, so having something else to fall back on is definitely important.
Let's talk about some exciting fights coming up. Cowboy Mcgregor announced that's at 170. Some people not getting Cowboy a chance at all, but and this guy's an active fighter like you. Took a lot of questioning, but at the same time, you can't sleep on it. Connor's one of those guys that starts off real hot. He's long, rangy, got some things. That can work out either way. How do you feel to see that fight playing out?
I see that fight playing out pretty well for Down Cerrone, to be honest with you. I mean, he's definitely, in my opinion, more experienced than Conor is. He has a lot more ways of winning that fight than Conor does.
Huge layoff for Conor too.
Oh, for sure. I think Conor's been 2 years since last fight or something like that. So I mean, I definitely think it's something that's gonna work all in Cowboy's favor going into that fight. So I would definitely think Cowboy would be my favorite going into that fight, and he can definitely pull it off. I mean, he just has more ways of winning it, in my opinion, compared to McGregor.
Now, I like to switch things up between boxing and I'm not sure if you avidly watch boxing, if you're a fan of it, but Jorge Masvidal, he's been mentioned in the meeting, like, maybe for a money grab, he wants to fight a guy like Canelo. Is there any guy in the UFC, that you think right now that can make a good transition to another big stage on like the boxing like that?
I think Jorge might actually be one of those guys that can make that transition. I mean, if you watch his fights in MMA, he's definitely one of the best boxers, pure boxers that we have in the sport of MMA. I think one of the things that would make the difference is how much time Jorge would have to prepare for that fight if he switched over and went over to boxing. I mean, having to train 4, 5, 6 different disciplines for MMA makes it pretty difficult to advance in just one particular discipline.
Now, this is Poirier, you said?
No, I'm sorry. This is Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah, Jorge Masvidal. Okay.
Yeah, so having that time, you only focus on one discipline as opposed to focusing on 6 or 5 disciplines. I think would definitely give Masvidal the time to show what he can really do in the boxing world. I mean, I think a solid 6 to 7 months of prepare for just boxing will be able to see Poirier go out there, hang with Masvidal, hang with the best of them.
Yeah, man. I got I'm gonna let you go in a minute because we had some technical difficulties earlier and everything. So, but I want to let you put anything out there for the table for your fans and anybody else who's watching right now.
No, I mean, just to the fans, I appreciate you guys supporting me over this past year. I mean, it felt really good to be in an unfortunate situation and have a lot of fans still support me, still encouraging me, still have my back, and knowing that I'll never do anything to cheat or deceive anyone or anything like that. So that was really appreciated during the dark time this past year, and I'm truly grateful for that with all the fans.
Give out your social media real quick.
Yeah, so if you guys want to follow me, it's Neil Magny _170. That's both Instagram, Twitter, and I think Neil Magny on Facebook as well. So go ahead, give me a follow. I'll be interacting with you guys, and once again, I appreciate you all.
Definitely. And next year, I know I got that open invitation to come to the gym. So hold some tie pads for me.
Let's do it.
Let's get down with the get down, man. Appreciate your time, Neil.
No problem. Thanks for having me.